Okay, hi everyone. Good evening again. Thank you so much for joining us today. तो आज के सेशन में हम हिंदी इंग्लिश दोनों में बात करेंगे इंडिया बजट 2026. What are the key highlights? This is what we going to present. And stock specific discussion नहीं रहेगा. कोई भी क्वेश्चंस अराउंड द बजट एंड ब्रॉडर मार्केट हो, प्लीज फील फ्री टू पुट इट इन द चैट बॉक्स एंड वील बी हैप्पी टू टेक इट एट द एंड. हम we will take about less than 40 minutes between the five of us. So my name is Jaspreet. I am accompanied today in this webinar by Parvati, by Devansh, by Rahul, and by Shreyansh. So all of them are sector experts, and we have done a deep analysis of the budget last night. जिसकी एक एक रिपोर्ट PDF copy would be there in your inbox by now. I mean, it was sent last night. So, in case if you haven't read it, do go through it in detail. It's worth a read. Quickly moving on to the summary of the macroeconomic snapshot. Okay. So, broadly, fiscal deficit, जो last year estimated था at 4.4%, as per in FY26, is maintained. They should be able to, come around that as well. Importantly, next year the target is 4.3%, which is on the right, which means we are on the right consolidation path. Point number one. Point number two, we had grown at 9.8% nominal GDP in FY25. We had dipped to 8% in FY26, and अगले साल we should be back to that double digit, which is around 10% nominal GDP. Real GDP को इससे आप माइनस कर देंगे रफली 3%, तो एक ब्रॉडर 7% का अनुमान आ जाता है. FY27 की बात हो रही है. ब्रॉड गवर्नमेंट का नंबर देखेंगे तो 6.8 से 7.2 की रेंज एक बताई जा रही है रियल जीडीपी की. एवरेज 7.7%, नॉमिनल जीडीपी 10%. नेक्स्ट, डेट टू जीडीपी इज नाउ, I mean, the path of decline is maintained. We were at close to 56.1% in the current financial year, which is March 26. Next financial year, the target is 55.6. So again, the right path, and obviously the broader target is as laid out by the FM, that we should be 50% plus minus by FY31. सारी चीजों पे हम we'll discuss everything around the markets and other things. Start for the first few minutes focusing on the broader macro story. Net, gross and net दो borrowings देखी जाती है, which is the difference between the expenditure and the income. तो उसमें सरकार को तकरीबन 17.2 लाख करोड़ का कर्जा उठाना पड़ेगा, which is about the gross borrowing debt that the and market had assumed about 15 to 17 lakh crore, a broader range. Now, क्योंकि वो ऊपर आया है रेंज के, इसलिए थोड़ा bond yields have gone up in the last 12 hours from 6.69 to roughly 6.76. तो इसलिए दैट थोड़ा सा एक रिएक्शन आया है नेट लेवल पे. हाँ की आई मीन, जबकि इसका 11.7 लाख करोड़ है, विच इज वेरी एनकरेजिंग बिकॉज दिस इज क्लोजर टू द एस्टिमेट. नाउ स्टिल, एंड इसके और भी थोड़े से पहलू हैं क्यों बॉन्ड यील्ड्स ऊपर गई हैं. वी कैन डिस्कस इन डिटेल लेटर इफ एनीवन वांट्स टू गो डीपर. Capital expenditure infrastructure push that continues. So we're looking at 7 priority sectors as highlighted by FM, which is biopharma, semiconductors, rare earths, chemicals, capital goods, textiles, sports goods, and so many more. मतलब बहुत सारी चीजें हैं जो अंदर हमारे सेक्टर एक्सपर्ट्स अभी बात करेंगे. मैन्युफैक्चरिंग पे, लॉजिस्टिक्स, डिफेंस, अर्बन डेवलपमेंट, सब पे द ब्रॉडर ग्रोथ फुटप्रिंट इज मेंटेन्ड. केपेक्स इज नाउ एस्टिमेटेड एट 12.2 लाख करोड़ वर्सेज 11.2 लाख करोड़ जो लास्ट ईयर का अनुमान था, बट उतना हुआ नहीं. But it's about 12% higher. And last year we ended up slightly lower than it was expected. But still, it's a multi-year investment cycle जो maintained है. Importantly, defense outlay is expected to go up, over 15% in the current financial year. Not, I mean, FY27, but more importantly, it is at a decadal high. In terms of the share of the capex intensity, within defense. So overall, this is also an interesting aspect. Moving on quickly, this is a snapshot. As I said, खर्चे क्या हैं और हमारी आमदनी क्या है. तो खर्चे हैं हमारे रेवेन्यू एक्सपेंडिचर, जो हमारे रोज के खर्चे रोज के हमारे खर्चे, कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर जो वन टाइम खर्चा है, मतलब पूरे साल में मे भी एक बार दो बार करना होगा. So that is what is there in terms of 53 lakh crore. What is the number in front of you? इसके सामने जो हमारे पास रिसीट्स हैं, दैट इज अबाउट 36 लाख करोड़. दोनों का डिफरेंस का जो डिफरेंस है डिवाइडेड बाय द GDP figure. So we are closer to, so let's say fiscal deficit is 16.95 lakh crore divided by the GDP figure. We are at about 4.3% अनुमान है, estimate for next financial year. Last year it was, or the revised estimate for FY26 it is 4.4% जो which was also budgeted 4.4%. तो अगर आप देखें इसकी जो लॉन्ग टर्म मतलब 3 साल का, we were in excess of 5, we went to 4.8, we are now currently at 4.4, and now we are saying we should be 4.3, on the right track. Moving on, the last slide on this aspect, which is capex intensity continued है. तो अगर आप देखेंगे कि जो टॉप लेफ्ट में जो ग्राफ है उसमें बार्स में अगर आप देखें तो we have roughly more than doubled over the last 5 odd years. FY22 से FY27 estimate जो होगा roughly that 5 year period, 5.9 lakh crore is now 12.2 lakh crore, and hopefully we should be closer to that number, if not exactly 12.2. तो केपेक्स की जो इंटेंसिटी है वो जारी है. फिस्कल डेफिसिट जो कंटिन्यूअसली नीचे आ रहा है, जो मैंने बताया, उसका भी डायरेक्शन सही है. फ्रॉम high of 6.8% in FY22. We are now, we should be closer to 4.3% in FY27 estimate. And a very very small minor drop from 4.4%. उसमें और भी ज्यादा ड्रॉप हो सकता था, बट क्योंकि अभी जीएसटी रैशनलाइजेशन किया गया है, लास्ट फाइनेंशियल ईयर में पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स रैशनलाइजेशन किया गया था, तो उसकी वजह से जो इनकम है, इनकम साइड में थोड़ा सा वो थोड़ा कम आ रहे हैं, काफी कम आ रहे हैं इस वजह से. बट वो भी जरूरत थी क्योंकि वो कंजम्पशन को बूस्ट करना था. तो largely same, 4.3% is the number of fiscal deficit, wherein market borrowing से जो हम पैसा लेने वाले हैं अगले साल, that will be about 70% 69.2 to be exact. बाकी other borrowings जो है 28%, and हमारी जो drawdown of cash balances है, that's 1.9. So that's broadly the maths of that 100%, but broadly जो deficit है वो 4.3% है. With that, let me hand it over to the PFSI sector, and it will be Devansh, will take us through the BFSI sector space, the broader taxes के around क्या हुआ है, MS and MSMEs क्या हुआ है. Any questions, feel free to put it in the chat box. हम end में उसको चाहे सेक्टर का है, चाहे मार्केट का है, चाहे इकोनॉमी का है, वो हम लेने की कोशिश करेंगे. स्टॉक स्पेसिफिक प्लीज डू नॉट एक्सपेक्ट अस, वो आज के सेशन में वो डिस्कशन नहीं हो पाएगा. थैंक यू सो मच. ओवर टू यू दिवंश.
I'll go over some key points that were covered for the BFSI sector, and there will be some key positives and key negatives. So, particularly, things that were highlighted was that there will be a high-level committee that will be set up in the banking, where so the impact of this was on for the PSU banks. This could potentially be indication that there will be potential mergers, review of FDI limits, and also restructuring in the PSU banking sector. So that will be a positive for the PSU banks, as small PSU banks will be consolidated, and that is the goal of the government. And the other side of this was that people also read into it that there could be potential operational norms that could be tighter for the banks. So that is something that we are awaiting. So that was one of the reasons that the banking sector kind of saw a fall because of it. And another key point was that that actually led to the sentiment dampening yesterday was the increase in STT. So if you see in futures, that was increased by around 150%, and for options it was raised by around 50%. And this was particularly negative for the capital market infrastructure stocks like the broking firms, basically, because this might also lead to volumes in futures and options to go down further, which was not expected by the market. And STT, to give a background, was introduced in the lieu of capital long-term capital gain tax. So people were expecting that it might be abolished, but rather it actually got increased. So that was one of the dampener yesterday. And other such schemes like credit guarantee schemes that were launched for MSMEs was where now TREDS, that is a receivables discounting schemes, will have a credit guarantee schemes by the government. So that will help help lending, increase lending in the MSME sector, and thereby with a lower credit cost for the banks. So that is a positive for the banks also. And one more key point that I would like to highlight is they have also upped their target of divestments. So it has gone up from 33,000 crores last year to 80,000 crores. And this is basically showing that government is pushing for privatization and stake sales. So one of some of the key projects that they are lining up in the pipeline would be IDBI stake sale. That would be a major chunk from this, and also LIC stake sale and follow-on public offer. So that are some of the key divestments that the government is planning to divest in this year. And other point that I would like to highlight is that is kind of negative, and I think Sir highlighted in his introduction was the the gross borrowings that are there have been shot up to around 17 lakh crores. That was around 15 odd lakh crores last year. This gross borrowing shooting up was taken slightly negative by the market, because now what will happen for banks and NBFCs, that the yields will go up, and as yields go up, it is technically negative for the banks, because their mark to market operations in the treasuries show lower profits or show a loss. So that will impact the earnings of the banks or NBFCs, and also it will increase the credit cost. It will increase the cost of funds for the banks as the yields go up. So they would have to, banks or NBFCs, they would have to price higher yields for the bonds that they raise in the market. So that is slightly negative for the banking sector and NBFCs in general. So that is one of the key points that is there for the BFSI segment. And now I'll try to give an overview on the direct taxes now. So for the direct taxes, some key points were that so a key positive that I think was there is this uh, share buyback taxation that was so in the share buyback taxation that they announced, the capital gain. So any to simplify to the buyback that happened that was taken by the company. So for example, a company announces a buyback, and investors used to apply for it. All the gains that happened were taken as a dividend income and was taxed at a slab rate. But now that is expected to go down, as that will be taxed as a capital gain tax. And my colleague will obviously elaborate on it. And another key negative was the capital gains exemption in the SGB bonds. Now that has been restricted to only the subscribers that were originally have issued to the bonds. So that will now so the other secondary market buyers of sovereign gold bonds will not get the capital gain exemption if they hold the bond till the maturity. That was something which was a key negative here. One more key positive that I want to highlight is that in the IFSC gift city, there were tax holidays given to companies that were set up for up to 10 consecutive years. Now that window has gone up to 20 years. So out of the 25-year window bracket, any 20 years can be taken as tax holiday, and post tax holiday there will be taxed only at 15%. So that was one of the key positives that I think was announced in the budget. Now I think I'll move forward to the MSME sector. So in the MSME sector, one key positive was that the government launched a SME growth fund, and that is budgeted to be around 10,000 crores. That is quite a boost for the SME sector, as this is expected to be a longer term high potential growth boost to the SME sector, as they are kind of struggling right now. And even though there have been tax cuts, there is still consumption demand still looks still not that impressive. So this boost will help the SME sector. And one more thing that we need to see is here only 500 crores have been allocated this year. So it is a kind of a multi-year rollout that will happen. and not something that you'll see it in coming years. So it is kind of a long-term plan that the government has budgeted. And if you see the budget, the amount of the budget for MSME has seen a modest increase of around 6%. But one more key thing here is to see is that 6% is kind of looks lower, but it also includes 9,000 crores in the last year's budget. That is a GECL allocation. That is something that the government gives a credit guarantee. That was a credit guarantee line that the government provided for the MSMEs in after the COVID. But that is something that the MSME sector doesn't need right now, so that is going unbudgeted. But apart from that, there is the budget also includes good amount of allocation for the MSME sector. So that is one of the key positives. Another last point that I would like to highlight here is there will be the government has already also added a provision of around 1,000 crores for for fund of funds and SRA fund top up. That is basically government uh, trying to so that is an initiative where government gives money to the startups and the and other PVCs to basically have their seed capital raised, and that will basically help them grow further. So that is one of the key highlights here too. So I think that was broadly highlighted in all these three segments, and kind of a I would like to say for BFSI it was positive on the positive end, but some negative points were also there that will look further. Then in the MSME and direct taxes was positive for the MSMEs and the retail investors. And I think that was it from my end. And I would like to hand over to Shreyansh for the second.
Slide has not come. Just a second, I think there's some. Just a second, there's some internet issue at our end. I'm just trying to connect so that the slide can be presented as well. Please allow us 1 more minute, please.
कितना शेयर है मोबाइल बेटा मेरा शेयर है कि तेरा शेयर है इसको तो स्लाइड शो मार के करना मैं करूँ क्या
Yeah. So I hope the screen is visible. Sorry for the technical delay. So talking about the IT sector, so overall the announcements that were made in the IT sector were positive. So there were a couple of reforms. One was related to safe harbor rules and one was related to buyback taxation, which were taken as positively. And there were a couple of other announcements which were also on the positive side for the IT services side. Now, talking specifically about safe harbor rules, so these rules are supported for greater tax certainty, easier compliance, and lower disputes. But there was a lot of ambiguity, or there was a lot of discrepancy in what each services has been categorized in terms of what tax rates are applied on each of these services. As we can see in the table, as per the previous or the existing safe harbor rules, lot of category of services were being taxed at different rates, ranging from 17% to 24%, which have been now clubbed under a single umbrella or a single bracket at 15.5%, bringing in like a whole universe of services under IT services definition. Even the threshold has been increased from 300 crores to 2000 crores. That is the turnover threshold for transaction. And the third or the fourth pointer being, the even the application for safe harbor rules has been, kind of made easier, wherein you can just automatically apply without any intervention from the office tax officer. And once applied, it is applicable for 5 years. So the whole idea being they want to make this safe harbor rules more easier for the companies so that a whole lot of IT services, including GCCs, can obtain or avail benefit out of it. Now, coming back to the buyback taxation, even though buyback taxation was there, nobody was utilizing it within the IT services or like the overall Indian ecosystem, largely because it was being taxed as dividend in the hands of the shareholders, which the changes which were brought in the budget couple of years back. So how it was being taxed as, the whole proceeds were being taxed as dividend, which were applied at whatever the slab rates for the individual or the promoter, which could be at 20%, 30%, or 30% plus, depending on the slab rate that one is falling in. And the entire proceeds were being taxed as the dividend tax. And the cost of acquisition for these buybacks were allowed as capital loss. So you were not allowed to reduce that cost of acquisition from the buybacks, which resultantly led to higher tax outflow for the for people who are applying for buybacks. Now, as per the new regime, which is net positive for minority shareholders, because this again brings in the buyback implications in a way wherein the buyback shareholders will be taxed as per capital gains norms. Now, minority shareholders will be taxed at 12.5% if the holding is, let's say, for long-term capital gain, and if the holding is for short-term capital gain, the tax rate would be 20%. For promoters, the buyback rates has been kept at 22 and 30%, and it is kind of net neutral for them. So corporate promoters basically here means domestic companies, and non-corporate promoters here basically refers to foreign companies. So in a nutshell, if I were to just summarize in one line, it's a net positive for retail shareholders within the Indian ecosystem. So this will just boost buybacks as a practice for Indian IT services companies. Now, apart from these couple of reforms, the other announcements that were there in the IT sector, one was the tax holiday for data centers. So any company, any foreign company providing cloud services to global clients which are using Indian data centers, provided that Indian customers are serviced via Indian reseller entities, have a tax holiday till 2047. Now, this will boost the hyperscaler data center expansion to a great level. In a way, it will just boost the demand for IT infra and managed services. So it is giving out a push or positive signals towards the entire IT services ecosystem. And one more announcement was more on the advanced pricing agreement side. That was just to fast track the APA agreements to a 2-year closure, which is extendable by another 6 months at the request of the payer. So net, all the positives or the reform, all the announcements or the reforms that were there in the IT sector are taken in a positive manner. Now I'll come to the textile sector. So the government announced schemes for the textile sector. So the whole agenda or the whole idea for textile sector announcement was, more focused on self-reliance, modernization, job creation, minimizing the reliance on exports. So for this, government launched five integrated sub schemes with an outlay of 1,500 crores, which is basically the National Fiber Scheme, focusing on self-reliance in silk, wool, jute, your Textile Expansion Employment Scheme, your National Handloom Handicraft Program, your Tax Eco Initiative, which is for sustainable apparels, Samarth, which is industry academic skilling. So net, this will give a boost to all the spinners, weavers, processor, and it will just provide a very good boost for the entire value chain within the textile ecosystem. The second announcement that was there was mega textile parks, which is bringing in a lot of textile companies into a cluster, wherein they'll be provided with high quality or high end tech machines, and categorizing them into integrated manufacturing hubs, attracting investments and leading to high technical textile clusters. Now, the third scheme was Mahatma Gandhi Gram Swaraj Abhiyan, which was to promote khadi, handloom, and handicrafts. That is to upgrade the upskilling and overall branding within the sector, thereby bringing about quality improvement. So, net, all these reforms have been taken in a positive manner for textile sector. Uh, yeah. Now, coming on to the defense and the automobile sector. So, as Sir also explained, the overall outlay for defense was a 15%, but the fine line or the line to read between that is the capex outlay, which constitutes about 27-28% of the total outlay, grew 22% as compared to FY26 budgeted estimates. The revenue expenditure grew 17%, whereas the capex expenditure grew 22%. So this underscores that government is continuously committed to indigenous manufacturing along with modernizing of the armed forces. So this is net positive in our view for the entire defense ecosystem. Now, or for the automobile sector, apart from the PLI scheme, which wherein the PLI incentive or the PLI budget for automobile has been increased more than 180% to almost 5,900 crores. There were a couple of announcements. One was PM e-drive scheme, which is a boost to the EV side of the ecosystem, basically boosting the EV OEMs, ancillaries, battery makers, and infra players. But this was more on the expected lines, hence the market did not cheer so much on the anticipated news flow. Similarly, there was news flow around the heavy industries payment security mechanism, wherein the allocation was there for around 12 crores, which is net positive for your electric bus OEMs, EV component suppliers, and public transport electrification companies. Again, this was on the expected lines, hence the net increment or net positive to take out on the automobile sector was the PLI budget being increased to 5,900 crores on the automobile sector side. So I'll just pass on to Rahul for his sectors.
Hello. I hope I'm audible. Yeah, so I'll be speaking today about the infrastructure, power utilities, and also about the PLI and the custom duties that have been mentioned in the budget. So just to give overview, overall the budget has been a strong push towards the infra expansion, energy transition, domestic manufacturing, supply chain, resilience, so on. Few of these schemes over here would be mentioned with a view of neutral. That is just because the push or the shift that has happened is not big enough over here, given that the gestation period is too long for these schemes. It will not show an incremental effect immediately. Otherwise, the overall view is positive. Breaking it down to infrastructure sector, the government has reaffirmed the infrastructure has a backbone for the economical growth, and we expect continued capital deployment across the road, housing, water supply, and urban connectivity. So, as mentioned in the initial slides, so the overall infrastructure capex was 12.2 lakh crores, which has grown 11.5% year on year. So, majority of these will be going to the NHAI, which is a 1.87 lakh crore, reflecting a 10% year on year increase. Your Ministry of Road as well over here has increased the allocation of 5% year on year to 1.2 lakh crores, which will be going into road connectivity and freight corridors. From the Jal Jeevan end, so this has seen the most drastic increase of 298%. This is one of the outliers, given that they had done a previous of 22,000 crores, and currently the estimate is for 67,000 plus crores going ahead for 27. In the housing, the government has significantly strengthened both the rural and the urban housing schemes. So the Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana for the Gramin, which is on the rural end, that is, the allocation stands to be around 69% of an increase year on year to around 54,000 plus, and your urban scheme is around 148% year on year growth, which is 18,000 crores plus. Moving further, also the Pradhan Mantri Gram Sadak Yojana has also received a good 73% year on year push in allocation, taking it up till 19,000 crores. Coming to the rail segments, so over here 2.92 lakh crores, a 10% year on year increase is what we have seen in the budget. Majority of this will be going to your rolling stock, which has increased 4% year on year. So the government has allocated around 52,000 plus crores to this. Coming to your new rail lines, around 20% of an increase has been seen to 36,000 crores. And your track doubling, this is basically the existing rail lines that are there. So they're adding a new rail line in parallel to it, that is expected to be a 30% year on year growth to around 37,750 crores. Coming to the metro expansion, over here we see a 5% year on year increase that has happened, taking it to a 28,740 crores. And the overall renewals for these tracks that I've mentioned previously, that has reduced 9% year on year. That's the only downside that we see currently, taking it to 22,853 crores. On the overall building material, as I mentioned, the two Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojanas that are there, currently we have a neutral outlook on it, and we expect that the stable demand that is supporting infrastructure and housing allocation to continue in the same space. So this is just a snapshot over here of the major schemes that have been mentioned in the infra space, including railways as well. As you can see over here, the biggest shift would be in the Jal Jeevan. So apart from that, the next one would be in the Pradhan Mantri Yojanas for the urban space of 148%, and your Sadak Yojana for 73%. The remaining rail lines, as I mentioned, 20 and 30% over here is expected for the new lines and the double lines that are expected out here. Going further, so yeah, in the power and utilities, the budget basically over here has reflected a balanced approach between the conventional energy security and your renewable energy transition that is there. So the nuclear power, over here the government continues to focus on long-term energy stability, while the policy support remains intact and the near-term impact remains largely neutral. So coming to your renewable transition, we see that this would be a more key beneficiary for the budget, and the continued support towards the grid monetization, renewable capacity addition, and your distribution reforms should be helping in the renewable transition. So over here you can see that the overall power sector capex was 1 lakh crores, which is an increase of 18-19% on a year on year. And your nuclear power, this is given excluding the custom duty exemptions over here, has expanded till 2035 from 2027, sorry. The nuclear energy mission as well, the new allocation over here has been made to 20,000 crores, and your PFC and REC restructuring that has happened, wherein now even they can start bidding for your energy transition programs apart from the government. So this would be a positive movement for it. Coming to your renewable side, the revamped distribution sector scheme (RDSS), over here around 45,000 crores is the largest reform basically that is being supported by the budget, and in that the smart meter and distribution over here will be taking 18,000 crores from it. This is an annual funding. Coming to your PM Surya Ghar Muft Bijli Yojana, the rooftop solar program that is there, this is expected to have a 22,000 crore allocation, and the transmission and grid modernization, which is expected to have a 12,000 crore annual capex support over here. Also, the government is currently trying to reduce the carbon emissions over here. So the carbon capture, utilization and storage programs that are there is expected to support by around 4,000 crores of an annual initiative. And the green energy corridor and the renewable transformation infrastructure out here is expected to contribute around 3,000 crores annually for the same. At last, for the grid balancing support, so the gap funding for a battery energy storage system, the BESS over here, around 1,200 to 1,500 crores of an annual support is over here given by the budget. And this over here should be a positive for the battery energy storage developers, which are currently in a very initial stages in our country. Coming to the PLIs and custom schemes. So over here you can see the electronic component manufacturing that has seen a good increase of 74%, coming all the way to 40,000 crores. The auto and auto components over here have seen a 3x increase to 5,940 crores. IT hardware PLI has seen a 4.5x increase to 180 crores. So overall, the government has continued to emphasize domestic manufacturing through production links schemes across strategic sectors, and the continued allocation towards the PLI is expected to support localization, scale manufacturing capabilities, and enhance the global competitiveness. This is also seen in the custom duties that have been wiped off. For example, the critical minerals that were 2.5% initially has come to nil. Your lithium ion based capital goods also has come to zero. The solar glass raw material that are used for the modules, aircraft and defense components, cancer drugs and rare disease medicines, and so on. All of these over here have been reduced to nil. Coming to the chemicals, the potassium hydroxide has a 7.5% duty, which was nil earlier. And your seafood export imports over here, there's a 3% duty-free import, which was earlier 1%, that has increased. So with this, I'd like to ask Parvati to take over for the...
Thank you, Rahul. Yeah. So I'll be speaking on travel and tourism first. So travel and tourism has been an area where the government has been pushing this in a couple of budget in very small formats. So what we saw this time around again was that the focus remained where they're now looking to put travel and tourism more from a seasonal and peripheral sector to more mainstream, where not only are you providing skill and employment, but also bringing certain regional places more into focus and boosting economy via that. So some of the programs that were announced, especially was around, say, like 15 archaeological sites, more into an experiential cultural destination, or building in the Buddhist circuits. So all this will essentially promote the heritage, spiritual side of India, while improving better connectivity, the rail corridors, the road corridors that we saw when the infra sector was being spoken on. Apart from that, the government is also kind of focusing on other adventure trails and ecological kind of programs where they are looking to boost adventure tourism. So it could be the bird watching sites or the mountain trails in Himachal. So those were specially called out. Another big event was the Global Big Summit, CAT Summit, where this is for the first time that India would be kind of hosting in country ministers and the governments from 95 odd countries. Now, this is again to specially bring in the ecotourism more visibility. So the overall idea here was to kind of push it to more mainstream and while providing employment and skill development. So pharma. Now, pharma is one sector जहाँ पे the government also kind of for the first time, मतलब pharma में earlier it was more seen like social policies, but this time where the allocation crossed more than 1 lakh crores. पहली बार ये हुआ है जहाँ पे 1 lakh crore cross हुआ है pharma sector के लिए, and that was a 10% YOY growth that was seen. So that brings in lot of emphasis. And the other core that was seen was that within the 7 strategic sectors that was outlined, biopharma was one which was specially called out. So while it is neutral when we look at the view, because near term impact nahi hai, but it is important to understand yahan pe ki biopharma mein we are, so as a country pharma mein we were traditionally generics, more volume driven drugs company that we had here India when we looked at it. But now the government wants us to kind of start doing more innovation led drugs. They are high in value, so while whole infrastructure might take some time to create, it is a good foundation and building stone where we might at a later stage have better access to high value biologics, biosimilars, have our own manufacturing capacities, and benefit from the traditional generics to the value chain on the higher side. One second, I'll share it. You're sharing?
Just give us a minute.
Just to continue till the slide gets loaded. So pharma, we were largely talking that biopharma as a strategic push is there from the government. जो दूसरा important changes दिखा was the medical tourism. So यहाँ पे focus was not only, so almost 5 medical regional hubs are being made, which is a positive. So not only clinical benefits we are seeing, but we are also seeing कि इस medical tourism में government ने push दिया है कि आयुष, diagnostics, आपका post care, rehab centers, ये सब combined रहे. So making it more holistic. So now this is very, very positive for hospitals, established diagnostic centers, and Ayurveda overall. And at a broader level, Ayurveda was also seen, given some push from the drug testing side. Overall, couple of cancer drugs, few cancer drugs were again exempted along with certain rare diseases. And this continues from the last budget as well, where critical medicines are being exempted to help ensure it become more affordable. A quick on agri and food processing, nothing much here at a high level. This is largely to focus a shift from traditional crops to high paying crops. So इसमें जो focus था वो आपका coconut था, raw cocoa था, cashew था, ये सब चीजें थी जो positive थी largely, because what we are saying कि government को farmers के लिए high value segment की तरफ move करना चाहते हैं, and that's where they are giving certain benefits and incentives around that. Quickly, when we come to chemicals again was largely a no-show. I mean, flat hai, neutral hai. If we see, one thing that stood out was that the first time the government called it out as a sector and is looking to establish 3 chemical parks. at an outlay of 600 crores. Now, this will give a strong boost to the chemical manufacturing and also lower certain entry barriers. Import dependence कम होगा. So ये एक broad positive है sector में. Otherwise, largely neutral on most of the other schemes that were laid out. From a quick miscellaneous, some of the important points was that education again remained a focus. More skill development remains in place, especially girls hostel in every district for the STEM program was called out. इसके अलावा what the government is मतलब स्टार्टिंग में ही जब उन्होंने बोला कि ये यूथ फोकस बजट है तो what they are trying to do is कि 5 यूनिवर्सिटी सेटअप कर रहे हैं more around the new industrial and logistic corridors so that the research programs help this skill development easier for industry and make them employable. Apart from that, one important thing to be called out is given that we are fast moving towards gaming, animation as a sector, वहाँ पे बहुत demand है तो उसको boost करने के लिए भी almost 15,000 secondary schools and around 500 colleges में special program was announced. Apart from that, there were few social welfare programs again towards women entrepreneurship and some rebate and subsidies given to the oil and gas sector, largely remaining neutral. So with that, we close our presentations and look to take a couple of questions. Thank you.
Okay, thank you everyone. Let's just spend maybe another 10-15 minutes on the questions. In case anything gets missed out, feel free to put it again. Can we get today's presentation? Anil ji आपको इसी का report form में मिल गया होगा. We cannot share the presentation, but the report has been sent out last evening. In case you haven't received, please write to the customer support desk, and they'll be happy to send you again. Which companies में gain from budgetary allocation? रमेश मोहता जी बहुत सारी कंपनीज को गेन होगा ना, क्योंकि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, डिफेंस है, पीएलआई रिलेटेड है, सेमीकंडक्टर रिलेटेड है, अभी ये नया जो डाला है उन्होंने, चाहे केमिकल पार्क्स हो, चाहे दिस अराउंड डेटा सेंटर. So there's not 4 or 5 companies that I can tell you. There are like hundreds of companies which will benefit. So broader idea is to see कि whether आपका जो overall portfolio है, is it in the right direction. And I think our portfolios are broadly there. So one is, how will this budget encourage FIs? हाँ, FIs कैसे, मतलब बजट का वैसे मोटिव होता नहीं कि FIs को encouragement देना, that is not the agenda, but still something, if I'm sure. But एक है थिंग जो निकल के एक नुआंस है शायद. सो द ब्रोकरेज रेट, उस पे जो टैक्सेस लगते हैं फॉर एफआईज, दैट विल नॉट बी पेड एनी मोर. दैट इज समथिंग अंडर द एक्सपोर्ट एग्जेम्पशन उनको मिला है. दैट इज समथिंग विच हैज कम आउट एंड अंडर द annexure stroke nuances. तो एक, they would be benefiting because of that. So I think because of that, the market has seen some kind of a relief rally today. So yeah, that is the only सेविंग रेस. अदरवाइज नेट नेट ऐसा कोई बहुत ज्यादा पॉजिटिव नहीं है एफआईएस के लिए. कैपिटल मार्केट स्टॉक्स एसटीटी कितना इफेक्ट हो सकता है? यस, इट विल बी अफेक्टेड, बट या दैट इज, यू हैव टू हैव दैट बैलेंस बिटवीन रिटेल को आपको कितना डिस्करेज करना है, और अगर वो डिस्करेज हो गए हैं तो ऑब्वियसली फिर देयर विल बी अदर सेट ऑफ पार्टिसिपेंट जो वो भी डिस्करेज होंगे, और इन दिस केस दे एंड टू बी एफआईएस, एंड दीज आर लार्जली द high frequency traders and guys who do very high मतलब बहुत रेगुलर बेसिस पे ट्रेडिंग. तो इम्पैक्ट तो जरूर होगा, बिकॉज उनका कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस गोज अप, राइट? इफ दे, and वो in the case of futures it goes up to 3x, in the case of options it goes up by 50%. तो इम्पैक्ट तो है, बट आई एम श्योर उनका जो लॉन्ग ओनली पोर्टफोलियो है उस पर नेट बेनिफिट होगा. तो शॉर्ट टर्म के लिए डेफिनेटली एक डैम्पनर है, बट ओवर अ लॉन्ग पीरियड ऑफ टाइम थोड़ा इसको, मतलब 2-4 दिन आप जाने दीजिए या 2 हफ्ते जाने दीजिए, ऑल दीज थिंग्स विल बी फॉरगॉटन एंड वील बी बैक टू बेसिक्स एंड अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ एंड द लॉन्ग टर्म इंडिया स्टोरी वो वापस से डिस्कशन में आ जाएगा. Overall 5/5 portfolio, Vaishnavi ji, is aligned to the broad India story, and जो केपेक्स है, जो केमिकल सेक्टर है, जो आईटी सेक्टर है, अभी बायबैक का भी उन्होंने राय दी है. तो इस तरह से काफी कुछ चीजें हम लोग लार्जली, हमारा कोई बहुत ज्यादा एक डायरेक्शन में नहीं है कि हम एक सेक्टर में बहुत ज्यादा अंडरवेट है और एक सेक्टर बहुत ज्यादा ओवरवेट है. ऐसे हमने एक्सट्रीम स्टांसेस नहीं लिए हुए. तो वील स्टिल बी ब्रॉडली equal weight to mildly overweight in sectors like banking and financial services, Second is consumption, and third is around the capex, broad capex story, जिसके अंदर मेटल, सीमेंट, रियल एस्टेट, बिल्डिंग मटेरियल, कैपिटल गुड्स, इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर, वो सब आ जाता है। तो वो ब्रॉड जो 3 C's हैं उसके अंदर बैलेंस है, एंड वेल सपोर्टेड बाय सेक्टर्स लाइक हेल्थ केयर, फार्मास्यूटिकल्स, आईटी, एंड मिसलेनियस सेक्टर्स। तो ब्रॉडली बहुत ज्यादा एक तरफा नहीं है। Are we investors on the right track with you? Kumar Singh is asking. Yes, you're on the right track, Mr. Singh. So, because you're right, जो बजट था वो बहुत ज्यादा कोई मतलब एक्सट्रीमली पॉजिटिव या एक तरफा एक्सट्रीमली नेगेटिव नहीं था। इट वाज ब्रॉडली, सम विल आर्ग्यू इट बी 7 on 10 और 7.5 on 10, और सम विल से 8 on 10, बट उतना ही है। ऐसा कोई 9 on 10 भी नहीं था और ऐसा कोई 6 on 10 भी नहीं था। तो आई थिंक and it is why it is also because budget is meant to be forward looking, डायरेक्शन देना चाहिए जो गवर्नमेंट के प्रो कंजम्पशन, प्रो केपेक्स, प्रो रिफॉर्म्स, प्रो इंसेंटिव्स एंड पीएलआई जो है वो सब मेंटेन्ड है, कहीं उन्होंने डिफरेंस वो नहीं किया है। तो सो लार्जली दे ऑन द राइट ट्रैक। अब उस सब चीज को आप पॉजिटिव माने या न्यूट्रल माने या इन लाइन माने, दैट इज द ओनली थिंग। सो दे वर सपोज टू डू दैट, सो दे हैव डन इट। तो एज आई सेड, अब हम बैक टू बेसिक्स है। Why is defense correcting despite good allocation? And Naman Bakshi is asking, Naman Bakshi ji, so defense में थोड़ा और expectation था, बट आई थिंक वो अगर आप देखें तो मॉर्निंग में जब उन्होंने डिफेंस की बात नहीं की बिल्कुल भी स्पीच में, तो डिफेंस सेक्टर काफी पिटा हुआ था, बट बाय डे एंड इट हैड बाउंस बैक स्मार्टली। एंड आज आज वापस थोड़ा सा बाउंस बैक हुआ है। If any stock was down, let's say the sector was down 6% yesterday, it is I think back to bounce back by 2 or 3% today. The net impact will only be about 3, 4 or 5% between yesterday and today. तो ब्रॉडली स्पीच में उतना हंगामा नहीं था जितना लोगों ने सोचा था कि भाई इतना जियोपॉलिटिकल चल रहा है तो हम भी डिफेंस को लेके बहुत बड़ी बड़ी बातें करेंगे, वैसा नहीं था। उन्होंने शांति से चुपके से जैसा जो करना था, ब्रॉड 15% एंड अंदर आई थिंक केपेक्स इंटेंसिटी वाइज 22% का जो इजाफा किया उसके हिसाब से आई थिंक इट्स लार्जली गुड। एंड थोड़ा the as what people say is positions built up भी हो गया था before budget, so a lot of stocks had gone up 5 to 10% before the budget, and थोड़ा सा प्रॉफिट बुकिंग भी है। मिडिल क्लास वालों को क्या बेनिफिट होगा योगेश? सो मिडिल क्लास पता नहीं सर, मतलब मिडिल क्लास मतलब क्या होता है, बट ब्रॉडली पर्सनल टैक्स रेशन तो पहले ही काट दिया गया था लास्ट ईयर, जीएसटी का रेट कट्स भी किए, एंड ओवरऑल छोटे छोटे कुछ ना कुछ रिफॉर्म्स करते रहते। So that would have that's largely good. Should we go in for stocks or commodities? पता नहीं सर, स्टॉक कमोडिटी तो हम करते नहीं, हमें पता नहीं कमोडिटी। तो मतलब वो टू ईच इज ओन, तो आपको अगर कमोडिटी समझ में आता हो तो आप करिए, बट हमें नहीं समझ में आता, तो वी ओनली अंडरस्टैंड इक्विटी। Is this the right time to add money to my portfolio? Yes, Rajesh ji, you should add, but obviously you can stagger it over the next 2 or 3 months. So maybe whatever your money is, spread it over if you're aggressive 2 months, and if you're conservative over the next 3 months. थोड़ा जियोपॉलिटिकल प्रेशर है, थोड़ा बॉन्ड यील्ड्स को लेकर प्रेशर है, थोड़ा मिस्टर ट्रम्प्स माउथ इज स्टिल नॉट, इज स्टिल अनस्टॉपेबल। सो थोड़ा थोड़ा कुछ ना कहीं चल ही रहा है। सो यू कैन स्टैगर इट इंस्टेड ऑफ पुटिंग इन लंप सम। उतना आप जरूर कर सकते हैं। अगर बहुत ज्यादा डर है तो मे बी इन 4 months। ओके, हाउ विल द मार्केट टिल मार्च? क्यों मार्च के बाद सर कहाँ जा रहे हो आप? मतलब मार्च के लिए क्यों पूछ रहे हैं? मतलब मार्च के बाद वी शुड हैव अ व्यू, लेट टेक अ व्यू ऑफ 1 year, 3 year, 5 year। सो आई डोंट नो विच, एंड आई एम अज्यूमिंग यू सेइंग March 26, but I think more clarity or confidence is on the 1 year view, which is, and 1 year view says that our earnings growth should be about 7, 8, 9%, or more like 8, 9% this year and 15, 16% next year। तो वो ध्यान में रखते हुए हमारा जो ब्रॉडर टारगेट है निफ्टी का, वो 28 to 29,000 है नेक्स्ट ईयर का, फ्रॉम अ 1 year पर्सपेक्टिव। सो यस, मार्च तक वोलेटाइल जरूर रह सकता है, एज आई सेड नेक्स्ट 2 months कुड रिमेन वोलेटाइल। टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री ही अच्छा ही है सब, आई थिंक, बट ऐसा कोई बहुत ज्यादा तो नहीं है कि हम उस पर अलग से चर्चा करें। once again, can't agree with Equentis portfolio is good one. How should, हाँ सर, कहीं ना कहीं लॉसेस जरूर रहे होंगे, जी अरोड़ा अरोड़ा जी, एंड ऑल्सो सी अ लॉट ऑफ स्टॉक्स हैव करेक्टेड. ये निफ्टी तो उतना दर्शाता नहीं है, बट निफ्टी इज डाउन लेस देन 10% फ्रॉम इट्स हाई. बट मिड लार्ज कैप, सेलेक्ट लार्ज कैप आर डाउन 20%, सेलेक्ट मिड कैप्स आर डाउन 30%, एंड सेलेक्ट स्मॉल कैप्स आर डाउन 40% फ्रॉम द हाइज, एंड माइक्रो कैप्स पे 50% डाउन. तो ओवरऑल जो आपका जो ब्रेथ ऑफ द मार्केट है, उसका जिसे मीडियन एवरेज करेक्शन बोलते हैं, वो इट्स मोर देन 20%. तो इंडिविजुअल पोर्टफोलियोज वुड बी डाउन बिटवीन 20 and 25% फ्रॉम द रीसेंट हाई. तो बट वो बाउंस बैक भी करेगा. अब ऐसा नहीं है कि कल को मार्केट बाउंस करेगा तो ऑल दीज पोर्टफोलियोज विच आर डाउन 20% टुडे विल नॉट बाउंस मोर देन दैट. दे विल बाउंस फार हायर देन निफ्टी. अगर निफ्टी 10% बाउंस बैक करेगा तो ये सारे पोर्टफोलियोज 20% और मोर बाउंस बैक करेंगे, बिकॉज दे आर मेंट लाइक, आई एम अज्यूमिंग वो सारे दे आर क्वालिटी स्टॉक्स, एंड कोई उसमें वैसे वाले स्टॉक्स नहीं है जो विच आर पेनी स्टॉक्स और विच आर मोर ऑफ न्यूज ड्रिवन. Loss will be a part of the journey, Mr. Muthu Krishnan ji. So yes, we keep on churning, doing rebalancing, and but प्लीज कीप इन माइंड कि फंडामेंटल्स को ट्रैक करना, हार्डकोर रिसर्च करना डजंट मीन कि हम स्टॉक सारे वही निकलेंगे जिनमें लॉस ना हो. मतलब अगर हम 25 स्टॉक दे रहे हैं तो उसमें 5 में फिर भी लॉस होगा, जितना मर्जी आप रिसर्च कर लीजिए, राइट. आप मतलब 500 तो ऑन द लोअर साइड है, मतलब इट बी मोर लाइक 7-8 नेम्स, राइट. बैलेंस, सी एट द एंड ऑफ द डे यू हैव टू लुक आउट फॉर विनर्स, राइट, एंड नॉट ऑल 25 stocks will be winners. In some cases it will be 15 stocks, some cases it will be 20 stocks. The balance 5 and 10 stocks आपको churn करके, rebalancing करके, you have to take them out and put potential winners. वो एक रीजन हो सकता है. सेकंड इज ऑब्वियसली कि टारगेट फेयर प्राइस के पास में आ गया स्टॉक, एंड थर्ड इज कि कहीं फंडामेंटली मतलब स्टॉक ने करेक्ट नहीं किया बट फंडामेंटली स्टॉक में उतना दम नहीं रहा, कुछ ना कुछ हिल गया. तो इसलिए ऑल these three reasons would lead to a churning in the portfolio. But having said that, as I said, please consider loss as an integral part of the journey. No batsman will complete his will complete his journey of, let's say, 20 years without having scored a couple of ducks and couple of having gone through a bad phase. वो bad phase सबकी लाइफ में आता है, तो स्टॉक्स की जर्नी में भी वैसा ही रहेगा. तो प्लीज एक्सेप्ट दैट एज पार्ट ऑफ द जर्नी, एंड उसमें काफी लर्निंग्स रहते हैं. Let me take a pause and see if someone can answer this from my team. Deep tech companies for next 7 years. Who wants to answer this? क्या होता है डीप टेक में? शान जी समझाना चाहेंगे आप? शान जी, let Parvati take this question. Deep tech and the potential maybe and long term view पूछ रहे हैं 7 years. तो ये तो बहुत अच्छी बात है, 7 years का भी मांग रहे हैं.
Okay, so the question I understand is deep tech companies or IT companies for the next 7 years. So दोनों में बहुत अंतर नहीं है, right? Some of our IT companies are also integrating these deep tech companies in bits and pieces, right? It's a wide phase. So आप जब deep tech बोलते हैं, deep tech could be going deep. So there are multiple ways to go, right? आप vertical में जा सकते हैं, चाहे BFSI के white spaces हो, आप manufacturing के white spaces हो. So when these companies are acquired, right? So some of these bigger IT companies, if you might read or follow the markets, बहुत सारे US और यूरोप में small acquisitions कर रहे हैं to acquire those AI skills, especially with respect to that white space, right? Similarly, चाहे insurance में हो, backend में है, कुछ automate करना है. So deep tech is a very broad term, राइट. पीपल ओनली अज्यूम दैट आप एकदम हाई एंड एआई यूज करके कुछ कर रहे हैं तो वो डीप टेक है. दैट्स नॉट हाउ इट गोज. डीप टेक कुड बी मोर गोइंग इन डेप्थ in the same vertical where AI is used for more better operations. It could be agentic AI, it could be solving across the whole value chain. So आज की डेट में कुछ इंडियन आईटी कंपनीज आर ऑलरेडी ऑन दैट वे, एंड उनकी कॉल कॉन्स अगर कोई अर्निंग्स रिपोर्ट भी जाके पढ़े तो उसमें भी आपको वो ट्रेसेस मिलेंगे. इसके अलावा प्योर डीप टेक कंपनीज तो अभी लिस्टेड भी नहीं है, एटलीस्ट इंडियन मार्केट्स में. इफ यू वर टू लुक एट, आपको प्राइवेट स्पेस में काफी मिल जाएंगे, बट प्योर प्ले जो डीप टेक कंपनीज की आप पूछ रहे हैं उसमें अभी लिस्टेड स्पेस में ऐसा कुछ नहीं है. सो फ्रॉम अ लिस्टेड स्पेस, इफ यू वर टू लुक एट आईटी कंपनीज, who have invested or called out AI. तो AI में क्या इन्वेस्ट कर रहे हैं, AI से कितना रेवेन्यू जनरेट कर रहे हैं, कुछ IT कंपनीज ने वो रिपोर्ट करना स्टार्ट किया है. AI इंटरनल एज वेल एज क्लाइंट्स के लिए किस हिसाब से यूज कर रहे हैं. So if some was to follow that, possibly those are the best companies poised from this space for now.
Okay. Between auto and defense, which is better from 1 year perspective, I think दोनों का रोल है रुस्तम जी आपको पोर्टफोलियो में. तो प्लीज कीप बोथ शेयर ऑफ बोथ. वन इज अ कंजम्पशन स्टोरी, the other is a capex story. So I would say definitely keep both. And if you want, you can maybe keep 5% each. But ideally, I would suggest 8% for auto and 5% for defense. ये तो नहीं पता सर शेषाद्री राव जी. Students who are back in India prior to 25 need to disclose their assets and banking detail. Is this applicable from this year? थोड़ा ये
but it will need to be checked,
or
especially.
we मतलब ठीक है आप if you just write to us on a customer service desk, we'll probably try to and figure it out, but it's more from a more मतलब आपके सीए आपको ज्यादा अच्छे से बता पाएंगे. बट ये इतनी बड़ी वो है नहीं टॉपिक जो हमें शायद इसके अंदर जाके देखना पड़े. बट
6 months का बिल you can answer. You can answer.
एक सेकेंड, we'll answer this. My colleague will answer this. खालिक आलम जी is asking for multi-bagger stock under 20 rupees. सर ये कहाँ पे चले गए आप? प्लीज डोंट गो इन दैट डायरेक्शन बिकॉज दिस इज डेंजरस. एक तो मल्टीबैगर वो भी अंडर 20 रुपीज इन अ मार्केट लाइक दिस. तो मतलब मल्टीबैगर तो हम ढूंढते हैं बट उसको just try and understand. There is a lot of there's a lot of interesting questions ki wealth creation ki journey etc. Please keep in mind that Nifty over a long period of time, 5, 10, 15 years has delivered 12, 13, 14% compounding returns. Now, over and above that, our idea at Equentis RNR is to deliver 8% or more alpha. Now, if and when that happens, and it has happened in the past, so the overall 5, 10 years CAGR becomes in excess of 20%. Now, in excess of 20% means that over a 6 year over a 6 year period, the portfolios quadruples, and over a 10-year period, it becomes 10 times. So that's broadly the magic of compounding. That over a 5 to 6 year period, you are doing 4 to 5 times your capital compounding, assuming we're doing in excess of 20% CAGR. तो थोड़ा इसमें ऑफ लेट आई अंडरस्टैंड. निफ्टी लास्ट 1 year रिटर्न हैज बीन अबाउट 6% एंड मिड कैप्स हैव बीन फ्लैटिश, स्मॉल कैप्स हैव बीन -6%. तो जर्नी पिछले 1-1.5 सालों की खराब रही है. बट दीज आर टाइम्स व्हेन इट रिक्वायर्स पेशेंस. और ये ऐसे वापस नहीं जाएगा कि आपको सडनली सॉरी कि वो धीरे धीरे अभी लेट्स से नेक्स्ट 20% मूव विल हैपन ओवर अ 20 month पीरियड. नो, there will be a period of 6 months in between and the market will go up in one shot 20%. I don't know that patch of 20%, but it will happen. Whether that patch is between March to September or September to March of next year or March to September of the year after, but it will happen for sure. तो इसलिए patience बना के रखना बहुत जरूरी है. And just ensure that you are invested, reasonably fully invested, and having a proper stock level allocations. Please, in any stock, jitna bhi bullish क्यों ना हो, unless it's your startup, unless it's your entrepreneurship journey, please do not go beyond 10% in any one stock. And 2% के नीचे लेने का कोई मतलब नहीं है. So our sweet spot is 3 to 6%. If we think the stock is a startup or some deep tech or some high risk, we take 3% positions. And if it's large cap, very convincing, even then we don't go beyond 6-7%. So I think that's broadly. So PMS top up we cannot take less than 5 lakhs. Sir. So Mr. Thakur, thank you so much for the interest and putting the question. Friends, we have a PMS as well in case anyone who has more than 55 lakhs and is willing to do the structured portfolio management scheme can write to us, and we'll be happy to. You can write to us on our customer service desk, and they'll be happy to connect you with a PMS counselor जो आपको PMS की सारी बता देगा. And happy to share that we have been delivering returns for the last 1 year, which is very close or slightly higher than the PMS जो टॉप क्वार्टाइल PMS एवरेज है इंडिया के, उसके आसपास ही हम डिलीवर कर रहे हैं. So that's this thing. So let me just quickly hand it over to Devansh to to answer that question around that student thing. One second.
Yeah,
Yeah,
over
over
to
to you,
you.
Dheeraj.
Yeah, so to clarify on that end, the government has announced that students, young professionals, tech employees, and also relocated NRIs. Uh, so they have announced that there will be a one-time 6 month time frame that will be given to these people, where there will be two categories: one who have disclosed their overseas income or assets, and one who have disclosed their overseas income but have not declared their assets yet. So if they have not, so in the category one, where you have not even disclosed your income or any assets, you will be charged a 30% on your fair market value of the assets that are there. So up till 1 crore rupees, if you have, for example, 90 lakh rupees, you'll be charged a 30% on the fair market value of the assets, and additional 30% on the undisclosed income as tax, and 30% as additional income tax in lieu of penalty. So that will be kind of penalty that will be given to these people. And if you have at least disclosed the overseas income that is there, but you have not disclosed the assets yet. So if you have been paying the taxes on the overseas income, then up to 5 crores, you will be only charged a penalty of 1 lakh rupees. So that is broadly what is there for all the small taxpayers that are there. So it's a kind of a 6 month time frame where if you just pay the penalty, there will be no legal case against you, or there will be limited legal liability against you. So that is what broadly was explained in the budget.
Okay, thank you. It's been a lot of time. So last 2 minutes, Ashish Agarwal ji suggested to sell. Acha, someone he asked a question, but sir, we can't take stock specific questions, or we can't give views on that. So I'm sorry. Kumar Anandji, I didn't understand your question, but you can connect with our PMS counselors. They'll be happy to this thing put for small case feature related हमारे यहाँ है मुरली जी. We have a product called multiplier. You can go to a website and you can get that. In fact, it is integrated like small case. It is integrated with brokers. So thanks for writing this. Please, you can go to a website and it will take you directly to the. You can buy a jar and it will take you to your preferred broker, and from there आप अपना small case खरीद सकते हैं. तो all this will be sorted. I think जो आपका सवाल है ज़्यादा. So you can, and obviously after some time we planning to do this with the our 5 portfolio also. So अभी उधर why is the government not doing great in freebies are happening? Freebies are happening sir, वो तो it's part of it, मतलब government. And बट बहुत ज्यादा freebies नहीं है इस बार, अगर आप देखें तो ऐसा कोई बहुत ज्यादा they have not gone out and given out. 12-15% in the future, just because it has happened in the past? Very good question, Vinod Jadhav ji. So, it has happened in the past. So, again, I'm saying 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years, 25 years. So, um, इट कैन बी उससे बेटर भी हो सकता है ना सर. तो इट्स नॉट नेसेसरली कि वो 12 to 15 हुआ है तो उससे कम ही होगा. आप कह रहे हो कि उससे कम क्यों नहीं सकता, एंड आई कैन से कि उससे ज्यादा क्यों नहीं हो सकता. तो इट इज बोथ वेज, राइट. समबडी वन कैन कम एंड से उससे ज्यादा क्यों नहीं हो सकता. बट द ब्रॉडर पॉइंट इज कि लेट्स से 25 years back the position of India, let's say, was at a below 10th in terms of GDP size. Today we are at fourth, and we should be third, let's say, in a year or 2 years. The FI's interest is reasonably high. The DI's is liquidity is so high. We are the single largest economy which is growing at 7% or more for the last couple of years and for the next 5 years. And even the likes of EU is मतलब वो इतना बड़ा trade deal हमारे साथ sign किया. तो I think there is every reason why we cannot every reason why we should be able to grow at least 12%, if not more. And उस पे 8% का, let's say if not 15, 12% should still be doable, as long as the GDP growth rate is 6.5-7%, as long as the nominal is above 10%. Nominal above 10 है तो इसका मतलब प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ 12 है. प्रॉफिट ग्रोथ 12 है, इसका मतलब निफ्टी अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ ब्रॉड अगर ग्रो करेगी, मल्टीपल रिमेनिंग द सेम, देयर इज नो रीजन व्हाई निफ्टी कैन नॉट ग्रो एट 12%. एंड अगेन हम 5 ईयर का व्यू ले रहे हैं. हम यहाँ पे नथिंग लेस देन 5 years, preferably 10 years or more. Yes, so that's broadly the end of it, I would say. Government capex. Last question is to ask Patil. Government capex 12.2 lakh crore. Government would spend. सवाल कहाँ है इसमें? So will it attract FIs and FPIs back towards secondary market and see some pause in their selling? So will it attract FPIs back towards secondary market? मतलब इसका मतलब इस थोड़ा कोई मतलब ब्रॉड लेना देना नहीं है. तो गवर्नमेंट की पिक्स जो है वो अपनी तरफ है. दैट इज द रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी, दैट इज व्हाट देयर एजेंडा, द मैंडेट इज, एंड टू बूस्ट द इकोनॉमी थ्रू द कैपिटल एक्सपेंडिचर विच व्हाट दे आर डूइंग. एंड एफ आईज एंड एफ पी आईज जो वापस आएंगे उसके अलग रीजन है. वो क्यों वापस आएंगे? क्विकली टेल यू. दे विल कम बैक इफ द इंडिया अर्निंग्स ग्रोथ is back to double digits. वो पिछले 18 to 24 months it has been in single digit 5 to 8% nifty earnings growth. Point one. Point number two, the US market has been strong and उनके earnings growth खुद strong रहे हैं कुछ टाइम से. तो उनकी home market इतनी strong है तो they tend to put money there. Separately, the other Asian markets like South Africa, Brazil, China, and even Japan, they have all of them have been doing well for the last 12 months. So again, money is getting shifted there because at the end of the money, at the end of the day, sorry, the India gets less than 5% from global flows. India gets less than 10% from मतलब इंडिया डेडिकेटेड फंड्स. 90% ऑफ द फंड्स इज बिकॉज ऑफ फ्रॉम द इमर्जिंग मार्केट फंड. इमर्जिंग मार्केट में जापान आ जाता है, साउथ कोरिया आ जाता है, ताइवान आ जाता है, बहुत सारी इकोनॉमीज आ जाती है. तो इंडिया का शेयर बहुत कम है. तो इसलिए इट विल टेक टाइम बिफोर दैट मनी कम्स बैक टू इंडिया. एंड लास्टली जो रुपी डिप्रिसिएशन है जो 7-8% हो गया है लास्ट 12 months में, इट हैज टू स्टॉप. बिकॉज इफ एन एफ आई इज अर्निंग लेट्स से इवन 10% and he 7% out of that goes away because of depreciation against USD, तो 3% लेके वो करेगा क्या? क्योंकि USD आप यूएस में यूएस के मार्केट में डालोगे या यूएस के डेट फ्री में भी डालोगे, रिस्क फ्री इंस्ट्रूमेंट में भी डालोगे तो भी 3-4% मिल जाएगा. तो देयर इज नो रीजन. सो ये रुपी डिप्रिसिएशन को भी रुकना पड़ेगा. तो आई थिंक देयर इज अ लॉट ऑफ थिंग्स व्हिच आर connected to each other, but it will happen because it has happened in the past. So as I said, a little bit of मतलब geopolitical थोड़ा सा थम जाए and the rupee depreciation once it settles down, and lastly the earnings growth comes back, I think we should be back on track in terms of the FIs coming back. Yes, largely trading in futures and options has obviously become expensive, but हमें इसमें बहुत ज़्यादा टेंशन नहीं है because रिटेल के लिए उन्होंने किया है. और जो एफ आईज हैं दे नो हाउ टू मैनेज देयर एक्सपेंडिचर. तो एज आई सेड उनके ब्रोकरेज पे जैसे टैक्स कम किया गया तो होपफुली और कुछ ना कुछ करेंगे. सो लाइक अभी रिसेंटली सेबी के एएमसीज एंड एएमसी के ऊपर भी उन्होंने सेबी ने वो कम किया था उनके ब्रोकरेज रेट्स. तो सिमिलरली आई थिंक इवन द फॉरेन ब्रोकर्स foreign AMC stroke buy side will also may reduce the brokerage rates. तो कहीं ना कुछ कहीं ना कुछ वो अपना मैनेज कर लेंगे सो दैट देयर कॉस्ट ऑफ डूइंग बिजनेस इन इंडिया गोज डाउन. बट उसके सामने हाँ ऑब्वियसली सम ऑफ द बिग ब्रोकर्स, इंस्टीट्यूशनल ब्रोकर्स, द वेल्थ प्लेटफॉर्म्स, उनका नेट इनकम अर्निंग्स कम होगा. वो दैट्स अ सेपरेट मैटर. बट देन इतना बड़ा वो नहीं है, दिक्कत नहीं है. गोल्ड पे ऐसा कोई व्यू नहीं है. एंड यूएफटी हो गया मतलब अभी उसमें अलग से maybe we can do separately once in our next available opportunity. So I think let's now close it here. Thank you so much for sharing, giving out time today, the right after the budget, and asking all these nice questions. And we look forward to meeting you again in the next available opportunity. Thank you so much.